Okay, hello. Once again, if you joined me a few seconds ago, I seem to I had the problem, or if you're just watching this later, I had the problem that I couldn't share my screen. I am, well, clearly sharing my screen now, I guess. Anyone in the comments or anyone? There's no viewers yet. Let's see if this works now. I guess I'm sharing my screen. Again, hello and welcome to the part two of my review of my March 22 longevity review. And again, this is part two, and this is a practice more than anything because I had problems before and I'm having problems again. So hopefully for next month, I can get this. I can be better prepared than I currently am. And apologies for that. But again, this is a practice, so viewer discretion advised in that sense. What happens if I stop sharing? Can I reshare again? I might try that actually. Actually, I'm gonna go a bit crazy here and so I go down to. I'm just going down to. Hold on, I have to go back. Stop that. Go back up to how far we got last time, because last time the internet shut out just as I was starting to talk about nicotinamide mononucleotide and nicotinamide riboside. But I'll see what happens if you stop sharing. If I can reshare, I'll do that at the end because otherwise might not get anywhere. So 2 weeks ago in part one, I went through first half main part of my March longevity review. Went through the highlights, the March roundup section, so you can find that video in the Canadian Longevity Association media section. I think it's called. Is it media section? Oh, no, I'm not going to look down there. So you can see what I talked about before. Now I'm going to continue. As I say, I got as far as nicotinamide mononucleotide when my internet connection dropped out, which is always useful. So continuing on from where we left out, nicotinamide mononucleotide. There weren't any amazing papers. I won't go into the details here. I'm going to be mainly concentrating on human studies, if at all possible. There were no human studies last month for nicotinamide mononucleotide, or NMN as it is better known as. However, there were a couple interesting studies coming out for nicotinamide riboside, so the rival, at least in the supplement market, for NAD precursors. So both nicotinamide mononucleotide and nicotinamide riboside, increased levels of a molecule called NAD, which is, I think it's called a cofactor. Basically, it's a molecule that is used in many, many, many different chemical processes in the body. If we didn't have any NAD, we'd be dead within a few seconds. That's how valuable it is. And it declines with age. And the idea is if you boost its occurrence in the body, then you will hopefully delay various age-related ailments. And there's certainly a lot of anecdotal evidence that people report feeling more energy and various things like that, though we're still waiting for the clinical proof. Something more clinical proof than the supplement companies are saying. Yeah, the supplement companies give the impression that they're wonder drugs, but we don't know that yet. Anyway, let's take a look at a couple ones for nicotinamide riboside. This first one here, it was used for in Parkinson's, and firstly, it increased the NAD levels in individuals with Parkinson's disease. And now this improvement or increase in NAD was associated with clinical improvement in Parkinson's disease. And Also, various transcription, well, it says here mitochondrial lysosomal and proteasomal pathways are good things happen. Basically, won't go into the details there, but it's interesting enough here in the summary. It says, NR decreased levels of inflammatory cytokines in serum and cerebrospinal fluid. So again, it's tentative signs. I forget how many people were in this study. Only 15 people were used in this study, and they used a dosage of 1,000 milligrams, so 1 gram of it per day for 30 days. However, again, this would be considered a phase 1 study, if anything. So an indication that it shows some improvement, but much larger and longer duration studies would be needed to see if this sort of pans out. Now, out of the study, open that up. Here it is the effect of NAD precursor supplementation on glucose and lipid metabolism. So this is a meta-analysis. It's not an individual study. It's looking at, and also I should have said at the beginning, it's not just exclusively looking at NR, and looked at some of the other precursors like NMN, and there are actually many different ways you can increase NAD levels. However, let's go look at the conclusions. So this is looking at them holistically or not holistically overall, and well, basically, unfortunately, there was no significant effect on improving human lipid metabolism. In case you're not sure, lipids are fats, basically. And also, actually, it sort of seems to indicate that Na, which I think is nicotinamide, they all sound the same. I know they can get a bit confusing what is what, had the most significant effect on lipid metabolism, which hopefully is good. Again, one thing with all of these NAD precursors is, maybe they might have little effect on healthy people, but potential significant beneficial effect on patients with cardiovascular disease or dyslipidemia. Again, we're going to have to wait a bit more to find out just how effective the NAD precursors are, and whether or not we're just flushing our money down the pan, or they actually are doing something. Oops, just checking to see if there's anything in the chat. If I can see my chat on my phone, let me just go back to the other thing, the other page. No comments. 3 viewers. Okay. Actually, could someone, I don't know, Ben or Miles, if you're there, could you just type in the comments? If you're listening to, or if anyone else is, if it's not Ben or Miles, type anything. Just I want to see if something comes up. Yay! Okay, comments appear there. Just seeing if they appear on my phone as well. Except it doesn't. Well, if I press start live video. Last, I thought I might be able to see the comment here on my phone, so I can't. That's useful. Okay, I'm gonna have to figure this out. Figure out some way to look at the comments while on here. Anyway, moving forward, let's take a look at another human study. Moving on to resveratrol, which there's been some recent controversy about. Now, obviously, resveratrol, if you're not aware of it, was the molecule from red wine that a few years back there was quite a bit of excitement about, and that people thought it could be a life-extending supplement. Now, it looks like that it probably isn't life extending per se, but it probably has some beneficial effects, as this study here seems to indicate that if you are diabetic or have type 2 diabetes, it can help with glucose homeostasis, which means basically keeping glucose levels stable, inflammation, and oxidative stress. So it certainly seemed to have some, resveratrol seemed to have some good effects if you were diabetic. So as it says here in the highlights, it significantly regulates glucose homeostasis levels. So decrease, oops, not a copy. The substantial decrease in HOMA-IR. So that's a measure of your IR stands for your insulin resistance. You don't want to have insulin resistance. And its effects on has less of an effect, but still has an effect on your fasting glucose, and HbA1c, which is sort of your longer term glucose levels. Also here it's saying that, resveratrol proves to be an effective anti-inflammatory, antioxidant agent, reduces levels of high sensitivity CRP. What's the C in CRP stand for? I forget. Anyway, it's a marker of inflammation, basically, as is IL-6 and TNF-A and MDA. So anyway, again, positive aspects with resveratrol. Here's a slightly larger trial. 110 people were used, so 55 in each group, and they were taking 200 milligrams of resveratrol for 24 weeks. So again, seems to indicate that if you have type 2 diabetes, so obviously different from type 1 diabetes, it could have potential beneficial effects. But again, even with a trial size of 110 people, that's still relatively small, and so it's best to hopefully wait for larger confirmatory trials if there are any such planned. Moving on, see what else I wanted to point out. Spermidine. Oh yes, here was an interesting study about lithium, which yes, the same lithium that is used in lithium batteries in your phone or electric car if you have one, but also lithium is used, I believe, as a treatment for, is it bipolar? Mental health disease. I think it might be bipolar disorder. Regardless, anyway, it is used medically as well. And it also, however, there seems to be indications that lithium might be good for overall health, because lithium actually can be found in drinking water. And they've done studies in the past whereby they've looked at levels of drinking water, like the public drinking water, and compare those to mortality rates in areas in countries like Japan. I think they've found this in the US as well, that counties, or I guess the areas which they've used, where lithium levels are higher in the water, there are slightly lower mortality rates. So it is your protective. So I think it also didn't necessarily increase the lifespan of mice, but improve certain health parameters. Anyway, in this observational study, I believe it was, retrospective cohort study, yeah, they seem to find that it improved. Let's get to conclusions. Oops. It improved lowered your risk of getting dementia. As it says, we observed an association between lithium use and a decreased risk of developing dementia. So, say This lends further support to the idea that lithium may be a disease-modifying treatment for dementia, and that this is a promising treatment to take forward to larger randomized controlled trials. So once again, like so much in science, there's an interesting study comes out and they end up saying, yeah, this is interesting, but we need to find out more. We need to discover more. So I mean, and this was a sort of just an observational trial where they looked at the records of 29,000 people, of which only 548 were exposed to lithium. And look down. Where? So yeah, lithium use was associated with a lower risk of dementia, hazard ratio 0.56. They only had a 56, like it's a 44% reduction in the chance of getting dementia, and AD, that's Alzheimer's, or a 45% chance reduction in Alzheimer's. But again, only 548 out of the almost 30,000 people were on lithium. So bigger numbers, but again, it wasn't sort of a randomized placebo-controlled trial. So less strength behind this, but again, more just indications that lithium might be a useful supplement to take, certainly for potentially mental health. What else? Moving a little bit further down, the combination treatments. I won't actually go into this, but yeah, just a combination of training with I-citrulline seem to produce a, I think, click on this, seem to produce a beneficial effect. Let's look at the conclusion. Here it is. So HIT, which stands for high intensity interval training, which basically means you exercise really strongly for a very short period of time and then take a break and then exercise very strongly again for a short period of time. So that might be, for example, doing a 30-second sprint, and then sort of walking for a couple of minutes, and then doing another 30-second sprint, walking for a couple of minutes, etc. for only, maybe 10 minutes or so. But HIT can be, as it says here, is effective in improving functional capabilities, lean mass, muscle power, waist circumference in obese older adults. Now, combining citrulline, which is a supplement you can buy, results in a greater increase in muscle strength and a significant decrease in fat mass. So, this is a potential, good thing to add to your exercise. See how many people were involved in this study. Do they say 81 people were again? So once again, small sample size, small studies, but unfortunately, with most of the longevity interventions that are being tried at the moment, it's still so much early days, they are small in number in terms of the participants. I'm going to sort of skip that. I want to go to the prescription supplements, talk about some more interesting stuff. Just want to briefly mention about metformin, because about this one here, actually. Metformin is linked to birth defects. I just sort of bring this up because one thing is that I don't want to sort of shy away from bad news. I don't want to just cherry pick studies that are showing positive benefits and sort of ignoring sort of negative results. I want to be honest and show it all to you all. So yeah, so I've included just this indication that metformin fathers might lead to is somehow linked to birth defects. Again, here's lifespan.io, which of course I'm a volunteer of. Their take on this is the full studies there as well. I haven't actually read this myself. I have no interest in having children, so yeah, sort of didn't sort of passed me by. But yeah, anyway, I guess if you're on metformin and considering having children, it might be an idea to stop beforehand the metformin for a while whilst you are trying to conceive. Now, moving on to what I consider a more interesting drug, and a drug I certainly want to get on again as soon as possible, rapamycin, which is the most, well, I say the most promising drug, which is closest to prime time. And little story if you don't know already, but rapamycin actually was discovered by Canadian scientists from McGill University who went to Easter Island in 1964 and took various soil samples and just to find, it was a scientific expedition of discovery. And out of all that they found out, one scientist discovered a rather interesting molecule which he named rapamycin after the ancestral name of Easter Island, which is Rapa Nui. And originally developed as an antifungal, and then used in organ. Well, then when they discovered that it in high doses can suppress the immune system, it got approved for organ transplantation and also subsequently anti-cancer, especially for colorectal cancer, I do believe. However, from our perspective, much more exciting than that was that in 2009, it was the first drug proven to extend the lifespan of a mouse, and it has certainly the most considerable data to back it up. It's basically worked in everything it's been tried in. And actually, I just realized the T-shirt I am wearing this wasn't planned. I don't know if you can. Oh no, you can't see that because, of course, I'm sharing my screen. Anyway, if you could see it, the T-shirt I'm wearing is about a crowdfunding campaign for rapamycin that for it to be tested properly in humans for longevity purposes. Anyway, going back to the papers in front of you, just want to point out a couple ones. These two are the ones at the bottom. I won't sort of go into them, but they are about hearing loss. And as it says there, I'll click on it. Why not? I was talking about, well, whatever, this mutation which impair autophagy. However, potentially remedied by rapamycin. So, which also the second paper opened up. So again, activation of Richter mTOR seemingly acts as a pivotal strategy to protect against sensorineural hearing loss. Basically, this paper also gave some indication that rapamycin might be protective against age-related hearing loss. So two papers, different aspects of hearing loss, but again, showing, indicating the potential of rapamycin. And one reason, yet another reason why I'm very excited about this drug. I'm mainly actually excited about it just because it's available now. There are plenty of people self-experimenting with it. If we can get some proper human studies done, like as I say, the crowdfunding study, which is currently underway. Hopefully, we get some more data in humans coming out. It's probably the first sort of proper longevity intervention that could gain widespread usage, and certainly something that we in the Canadian Longevity Association will be trying to, influence the healthcare system here in Canada and the government to really look into this. Moving down, miscellaneous molecules. So those are all just ones that, don't have their own little subsection. Actually, I've got two miscellaneous molecule sections. In the non-prescription, there's the other available supplements. Again, when I talked about the lithium, so those are ones you can actually, order online or get in your local health food store. Whereas the miscellaneous molecules, or all the other ones, might be prescription or newly discovered molecules which you can't basically, or you either you can't get hold of, or you definitely need a prescription for. And here's a study I just want to point out. And Empagliflozin, which is an SGLT2 inhibitor. SGLT2, yeah, I said that right. It's a relatively new type 2 diabetes medication, which has shown benefits for cardiovascular diseases as well. And in this paper, it's also showing that it improves cognitive impairment. So again, this class of drugs, potentially like metformin, which started out as a still is a type 2 diabetes medication, has wider beneficial effects. So it might prove that another diabetes medication or another class of diabetes medications, the SGLT2 inhibitors, also might have, it's beginning to look like they also might have wider application. I should say that SGLT2 inhibitors basically increase the secretion of glucose, I believe, in the bloodstream. So lowers your glucose levels, which is a good thing, I think, or people believe. Moving down, so other areas of interest. This is where we get more into the moving away from supplements or things you can take and just looking at other areas in the longevity field, more sort of sciencey based. Aging clocks. So this is all about, apart from looking at how many candles are on your birthday cake even. Aging clocks would actually tell you what your biological age as opposed to what your chronological age could be, and they are continuously developing new clocks, and this is new monocytogenic clocks. Won't go into that, but there are there's always more new clocks coming out. We still need to figure out how accurate they are and exactly what they are showing. The fact that you might be younger according to these clocks, does that actually make a difference in terms of your lifespan or your health? That still hasn't been fully decided yet, but hopefully it will be found out soon, and they are going to be they're so useful in terms of shortening the length of time for any actual longevity trials in humans, because instead of having to wait for 20 years to see if they work or not, hopefully you can get the data readout from an aging clock could shorten that time span, or at least give results much quicker if something is working or not. I'm talking for 30 minutes already, so I'm going to sort of zip through some of these to the more interesting ones. So I think I'm going to go here to epigenetics and cellular reprogramming, which is sort of the hot new field in aging research. Now, very actually closely connected to the aging clocks, because the question is do these aging clocks actually properly show aging? But if they do, what happens if we wind back the hands of the clock, so to speak? Would that actually affect the underlying aging of the organism? And tentative signs seem to indicate that that it does work. So for example, this interesting paper, multi-omic rejuvenation of naturally aged tissues by single cycle of transient reprogramming. So just a little bit of background. So basically, if you think of the genome, the epigenome, so obviously our genome is where the genes which make all the proteins in our bodies are encoded. But how do we know, how does the body know, or how does each individual cell know which genes to turn off and which genes to turn on, turn off and turn on? Because we've got the same genes in all, we've got the same DNA in all of our cells, but each of our cells does something different. And how one cell decides to turn genes on and off compared to another cell, that depends on the epigenetics. So these markers that are sitting on top of the genes, which either tell the gene to be active or to shut up and not do anything. And those markers, as they change over time, that's how the aging clock, because those markers do change over time. And yeah, the aging clocks basically take a look at how those things change and yeah, say that's how biologically old you are. Now, with reprogram, the idea is to basically reset those changes back to the youthful level or back to what they were when you were younger. But the idea, hopefully, is that that will make you younger as well. And anyway, in this, there have been three papers came out last month, and one of them made one of the highlights, but a couple more I've got in the rest of the section, which we're looking at now. And again, here they tested this in a few different organs in the body, so the pancreas, liver, the spleen, and the blood. And basically, yeah, they were sort of spelling what it says here. Hold on. Here, we observed reversion of transcriptional changes, especially regarding biological processes known to change during aging. So again, going back to youthful levels. Finally, some serum metabolites and biomarkers altered with aging were also restored to young levels upon transient reprogramming. These observations indicate that a single period of OSKM expression can drive epigenetic, transcriptomic, and metabolomic changes towards a younger configuration in multiple tissues. So yeah, more evidence that that reprogramming can have rejuvenating effects. And something similar to the second paper. Again, the same idea was used, but this time much more targeted, looking at the intervertebral discs, so your backbone, basically, or the discs in your backbone. And again, the same process was used, though they call it here activating energy switch. But they use the same process, and using the same process, it says here, inhibits the progression of IDD. So that's intervertebral disc degeneration, and significantly reduces senescence-related phenotypes in aging NPCs, which are nucleus pulposus cells. Learn something new every day. Anyway, so again, quite exciting that it shows tentative. I mean, that paper was done in mice, but still very, very promising and exciting. And it's one of the reasons why Altus has had like a $3 billion investment from Jeff Bezos and various people like that to really go deep into that. Actually, the first paper I looked at, the multiomic rejuvenation, the lead author there has been hired by Altus to carry on the work for them. Skipping ahead, is there anything in exosomes? So exosomes are small packets, they're signaling molecules that all cells release, and the ones from, let's see, there wasn't anything too exciting the last month there, but basically it's a promising area for the future because of exosomes from younger animals have proven to be rejuvenatory for when given to older animals in other studies in previous months. Yeah, let's look at lifespan lengthening interventions. Now, for the most part, I only include lifespan lengthening interventions which have results in mice because, I mean, every month there are quite a number of ones in C. elegans, which is the tiny little roundworm, where a lot of basic research takes place. But Yeah, we're not, we're not mice, and we certainly aren't worms. So I only start to get sort of mildly excited or when something is tested and it works in mice. Now, um, one of them, I actually forget what this was. Which one is? Oh, yes, this first one here. CD38 inhibitor 78C increases mice lifespan, health span in a model of chronological aging. Now, see, what's CD38? Well, actually, that's connected once again with NAD because one of the reasons NAD levels decline with age is that it gets used up too quickly or gets used up more. And one of the things which uses NAD, which increases with age, is CD38. I have absolutely no idea what CD38 does, but anyway, it uses more NAD, so our NAD levels go down, and by inhibiting it, by blocking its action, it doesn't consume as much NAD, and it turns out that this can increase, this is here, 78C, this is the random name of this drug, increases lifespan and health span of naturally aged mice. By 10% of median, which means average survival. I forget now if it increased ultimate survival. There we go. Let's click on. So you can see here, yeah, it increased. So it increased average and also increased maximum survival. If you look here, the black is the control and the red is the 78C. Looks like it had more of a, that's combined. Looking here, it had more effect in men, or male mice, I should say, than in female mice. But yeah, but it had an effect in both. That's one thing we're discovering more and more, is that there is a, male and female physiology can be quite different, especially when it comes to, I mean, stating the obvious, but when it comes to longevity interventions, because we found that certain drugs work better and have more of an effect in female or male mice. So, for example, rapamycin works better in women than female mice than it does in male ones. But anyway, always nice to see another molecule showing increase in lifespan. Also, it says here it also improved exercise performance, endurance, and metabolic functions. So, yeah, good to see. And also this other one, here a flavonoid, corillin. Forget where it comes from. Something. It comes from traditional Chinese medicine. Yeah, here he was examined in a mouse model. Corillin extends lifespan in mice fed a high-fat diet. So, I mean, this is a bit of an asterisk next to it because so it's not sort of an average mice, but considering how many Westerners in particular eat a high-fat diet, this could obviously translate directly more to humans because maybe it doesn't work as well in for healthy people, but yeah, otherwise it can do. And here, oh, so this is in yeast. Hold on, let's go to this mice. Hold on. This mice. No, that's all yeast. Hold on, let's go. Let's take a look. Take a look at their. No, now again, that's yeast. Generation. It looks like yeast as well. It's a mouse. Ah, here we go. So Yeah, they didn't actually. Looks like they didn't carry this out until they all died. But sorry, excuse me. You can see here the red line is the mice in the high-fat diet. The blue line is high-fat diet with Corillin. That's how you pronounce it. Yeah, again, it's in mice need further evidence. I should also say that all these sort of individual studies, they need to be replicated. The gold standard for mouse lifespan studies, the interventions testing program run by the National Institute of Aging in the U.S. They use mice that well they test mice in 3 different locations. So there's more, and they test a lot of mice. So there's more. If when the ITP says that something extends the lifespan, you know that it is correct. It can be trusted. As I say, it is the gold standard. It's individual studies like the two we just looked at, they need to be replicated by another lab before you can really start trusting it. But still, interesting indications. Um, yeah, skip over that. Looking at the time, my gosh, I've been talking for quite a bit. I don't know, maybe you can tell I used to be a teacher, so once yabbering, once I start yabbering, it's almost can be difficult to shut me up. But I wanted to go to, yeah, Senolytics. Here it is. Um, so Senolytics or senescent cells. So before reprogramming, Senolytics was the hottest cookie in town. Um, and it still is. I mean, Senolytics is still a lot closer to prime time than reprogramming is. And just brief recap, Senolytics is all about, or senescent cells, I should say, are cells in our body which have gone dysfunctional. They should be, in a sense, they should, in a sense, die and be cleared by our immune systems, but instead they just kind of hang around, release all these molecules which produce inflammation throughout the body and produce all sorts of problems. And the idea is by getting rid of them, um, well, those problems, hopefully, the problems caused by them will go away. And Senolytics is very, very promising. So, for example, looking at this first paper here, eliminating senescent cells, alleviating intervertebral disc degeneration. Um, so let's see. So yeah, I think this is a review. Yeah, this is only a review article, so it's looking at previous studies. But again, it's saying that Senolytics could be useful in improving disc degeneration, which if that continues, that leads to back pain and all sorts of problems. But anyway, they could be useful against that. And also another study indicating that Senolytics could be useful for skin aging, so dermal fibroblasts, which are the cells in our skin. And it says our results indicate the selective clearance of senescent skin cells can attenuate, which reduce the worsening and improve skin aging phenotypes, and that Senolytic drugs may be a potential use as a new therapeutic agents for treating aging of the skin. So there's actually is a product out there. I think it's called OneSkin, which is a claimed senolytic, which you can buy as a skin cream. I get their emails, but I'm waiting on human trial results. um, they're claiming that they reduce senescence in people's skin, but they've not published anything yet. So I'm waiting on that. But here, moving on. Hold on, where did I just go? There we go. They can, senolytic treatment, here says, rescues blunted muscle hypertrophy. I don't know how to pronounce the word, is it hypertrophy? I don't call it that. Rescues blunted muscle hypertrophy in old mice. So, what blunted muscle hypertrophy means in English, in layman's terms, is old people lose muscle. They find it difficult, even when they exercise, to gain muscle mass. So, muscle hypertrophy basically means gaining muscle. And using senolytics here seem to indicate that it says here, our data collectively show that senescent cells emerge in human mouse skeletal muscle following hypertrophic stimulus, and that DNQ improves muscle growth in old mice. Once again, in layman's terms, it appears that if you do exercise, I guess if older people exercise, they get senescent cells get produced, which stop muscle growth, and using a senolytic can change that so that they will gain more muscle. And in this one, at least, they're using D and Q, which is, like I was saying, what is D and Q? D and Q stands for dasatinib and quercetin. And this was the first combination of two drugs. Quercetin being a supplement you can go buy, dasatinib, which is a cancer drug, but it's going off patent in a few years, so it'll become cheaper soon. And a number of people are already self-experimenting with this. I'm not suggesting that you do that, but various human trials actually are taking place already, and within the next 2 or 3 years, we should have an idea whether or not it works in humans as well as it appears to work in mice. So certainly something to keep an eye on. And one reason I'm sort of feeling optimistic about the future as regards to longevity. And there's another just study here. Yet, I mean, the scientists are continuously discovering new senolytics, new drugs, which could maybe be better than the first generation of senolytics which have been discovered. And here, gingerone, I won't go into it, which is from ginger, surprisingly enough, supposedly is just as effective. I'll click into it, why not? Is supposedly, I think, just as effective as D and Q, and or might be even better than, this is here, similar to the senolytic cocktail dasatinib and quercetin, gingerine A, elicited a cell death program. Yeah, basically, I think I read somewhere elsewhere in the paper that it might be even better than dasatinib and quercetin. So something to watch out for going forward. I'm coming relatively, gosh, it's almost talking an hour now. A couple of the sections, and not too much more to sort of say. I've got the skin and beauty section is just, well, I know a lot of people are concerned about their appearance. Well, I guess most people are. And a lot of things I come across actually are to do with not so much pills or creams, but sort of these like, I don't know, what are they called? Radio frequency devices and things which emit beams into your skin and might do good things. So, for example, this paper, radio frequency device for rejuvenation of aged skin at home. So you can do it while you're binge watching Netflix. The conclusion here. Well, firstly, the home-based RF beauty device was safe and effective for rejuvenation. Well, let's go look at the results. Only 32 participants, again, so small study, but compared with the anti-aging cosmetic treated facial side. Oh yeah, I think on one side they use just some cosmetic overall the face, and then half the face they use the this radio frequency device. The experimental side shows statistically significant improvements in wrinkles, skin radiance, color, and thickness. Think of that what you will. I think they've got. So there's the device. I won't say what else that might look like. Do they have any photos here? Somebody's here they are. So you can take a look. I mean, I don't know. Is there a difference? Is there an improvement between these? Yeah, I don't know. I'm a little bit always a bit suspect with these type of things, but to each their own. Probably doesn't do any harm. Again, so that was radio frequency. Here's another one using intense focus ultrasound. Yeah, I mean, again, they show some pictures. I'm sure you can take a look if you really want to see what the supposed improvement is. Conclusion, we confirm that facial rejuvenation of the upper and mid face can be achieved through the use of transducers with multiple penetration depths. There you go. Whatever that all means. Let's see. Anything getting close here? Is there anything else I really wanted to point out? Not really. Oh, another thing is I'm seeing more and more similar to these like radio frequency devices for the skin. I almost get like feeling I need to put an extra section. All these sort of I've had to put them to the into the odds and sods section, which is basically I don't know how to categorize something. I should probably create a category, but like transcranial like stuff to put electricity through your brain. I'm seeing more and more studies that it might be beneficial. So your transcranial alternating current stimulation, can influence cognitive functions by modulating brain oscillations. So let's go to jump to the conclusion. In conclusion, using EEG features related to positive behavioral changes in select brain regions and stimulation patterns for TACS is an effective intervention for improving working memory. So, yeah, I must admit, this is an area I've not really explored. I have not had a time to read really any of these papers, but again, here, another trial for in stroke or post-stroke recovery. And let's jump to the conclusion. Potential benefits of transdermal current stimulation. Yeah, transdermal current stimulation can vary depending on the assessment tool used. Okay, so they're basically in the conclusion of saying we need to find out more again, but yeah, potentially some benefits there. Now, I just want to I point this out. I'm just saying that I've seen more and more of these papers. Even like here, it's photobiomodulation, which is like I think shining lasers into your basically like shining lasers, or not sure if that's a laser, but shining light into your skull, which always sounds weird. That how can light actually penetrate the skull? But yeah, what is it good? It says photobiomodulation, all these lovely long words, has the potential for therapeutic utility, reducing cell loss to apoptosis, which is just cell death, in injured neurological tissue. Anyway, so yeah, this is an area I must admit I don't know much about, but I sort of add them there. But it's interesting somehow. There's still so much we don't know about biology. Anyway, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. See if there are any comments.